Paul,
Hmm?
what are you doing?
I'm reading. I have paper tomorrow. You see, this is a very crazy aspect of learning where you have to be reading passively. This is wrong. This is not the form of reading that you should be doing. Today we're talking about technique. Technique. Effective study technique. Now, you clicking on this video basically means that you want to understand the best technique to study. These are most frequently used study technique used by students in various levels of education or learning. Now, the first of the list is passive learning. Second is active recall. Third is AI and productivity. And the fourth one is space repetition. Now I'm going to grade these techniques to you and tell you which one is best and which one is less effective, so that you can be able to know what are you using, at what point are you going to use it. Because I've seen so many videos online, so many people talk about space repetition, passive learning, active recall, all of these things without you actually understanding how to use it effectively or what is its role in your own personal study life. You will not be able to achieve your goal. Now remember, technique supposed to be part of a system. You don't rely on technique alone on learning. If you do, you find out that you are putting too much risk on something that has high reward. So I will advise you, like I said, always get a study method, a study system. Work on a study system. There is no study system that uses one technique. Like the study system we are using is in Spec Academy. It's not one technique. There are various techniques, and you use them at various time or at different intervals. So you need to understand that just like the human body, different systems work together in order to ensure survival. So does your study also have a study system. If you are reading and studying and you're not enjoying your study, it means that you are not actually having a good study system. Now, first on the list, I want to talk about passive learning. Passive learning is the worst of all forms of learning. Is the worst of all forms of learning, because once you apply passive learning, you find out that the brain actually hardly retrieve or store those information in bulk. It stores only little percentage. If you apply passive learning, you're going to have an ineffective what retention rate. Okay, you're going to have a low retention rate, and you are forced to study it over and over. That means you have to reread and reread and reread and reread, because you are applying passive learning. When you saw the beginning of the video, you saw me reading quietly, passively. That's passive learning. When you are reading, trying to go through a material, thinking reading the material will mean storage, it doesn't work that way. So passive learning is a what is a no go area. As a student, that should be the list of all method or technique you apply in your study. Then the next technique I want to talk about is the active recall. I've seen so many videos talk about active recall, but let me tell you one basic error people make about this active recall is the fact that before you apply this active recall, there must be understanding. People feel like asking questions, doing quizzes, trying to recall the answers to. No, that is no different between you and someone that is cramming. So active recall is a test of if the brain has stored information, and if you do not understand, the ability for the brain to store is very very slim. It's very slim. Understanding comes before proper what storage. Before proper storage. Are you getting me? Understanding comes first. So understanding open the gate to your what? To your long term memory. Okay, so it is when you understand, then you apply active recall, so they can be able to remember all the information. In case of technical questions, in case of any form of question, you can be able to defend, or you can be able to say something more tangible. Okay, so active recall is very very effective. It's a retrieval method. Okay, and you should always only use what you should only apply active recall on knowledge and not what? Not information. Don't apply active recall on information, rather in knowledge, because most textbook that you see, most handouts you are being given, most notes that you have are combination of both knowledge and information. Both knowledge and information. So you need to detach, or you need to bring out the knowledge out of the information. Once you understand, you don't need the information. Why do you need information when you understand? The information helps you to understand the knowledge in the material. So once you understand, then what you need is the knowledge. Is the knowledge that you now try to actively recall. So you apply active recall only on knowledge and not information. So you need to have the skill of removing knowledge out of information from every material you have been given. Okay, so past questions should come before active recall. You need to, when you are going to study, you need to check past questions. Okay, after you understand, you check past questions. After you check past questions, then you now try to actively recall. Now when you go through past question, it helps you to detect areas that are very vital and important in that particular course. For a lecturer or a teacher to set question in a particular part, it means that aspect is very, very important, or that subtopic is very, very important, or that topic is very, very important. So you need to pay attention to past cue when you understand the material, before you now apply your active recall. Through that, you'll be able to be vast and in thinking, and you'll be able to get your work done in less time. And the advantages of active recall is that it helps in mental exercise. It helps you to mentally exercise your brain. Okay, that was the reason why in my subsequent video I told you that early morning, night, you can be able to try to arrange things and try to recall them, numbers, words, try to recall them. This is what gives you the capacity and the ability to apply active recall perfectly, because you can't just start running when you cannot walk. You need to pass through the process. So for you to be very effective in active recall, you need mental exercise, and then it helps you with that, and it builds your memory capability, your memory capacity. Okay, so active recall builds your memory capacity, and it builds your confidence, because whatever you can be able to recall, it means you are confident that when you are being asked, you can be able to answer it effectively. So it gives you confidence. So this is a good method, but you have to use it appropriately, just like I have explained. And then the next one is AI for productivity. You see, AI has come to stay. We need to accept it, embrace it, and use it effectively for our self-development. Now, many people use AI wrongly. Whenever you want to use AI, there are certain prompts that you need to make use of, that is going to help you get this right. Because if you give AI a wrong prompt, it will give you actually a different concept of what you're actually looking for. So you need to start developing yourself on prompts. What are the best prompts for learning a topic? What are the best prompts for actually learning a particular skill? You can get that in Pinterest. Okay, you can go to Pinterest, look for prompts, AI prompts. You will see them, you copy them, you use them. What is the prompt for curriculum development? You will see it, you use it. So you need a proper prompt. Not always you have to be, always try to create something. No, there are some times that you need a proper prompt so that it's going to ease your work and give you perfect result. And then AI will also help it will reduce your study time. It will reduce the amount of time it takes you to cover a particular piece of information. So AI is very, very powerful. I will talk about some certain AIs that are going to be very helpful for you in your search for knowledge, in your search for skills, that is going to be really, really productive, especially for students that are seeking for to maximize grades and minimize time in doing study. So I will actually I will talk about some AIs that are going to really help you massively in the next video. So the next is space repetition. space repetition. Now I've come so this one is a good one. Okay, AI for AI for productivity is very very good. Okay, as a student you need to know how to use it properly. And then the last one is space repetition. I feel space repetition is very 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 overrated, because you see I've seen videos on space repetition. I don't want my students to actually feel or get trapped over this concept of space repetition, especially in the learning system in Africa, where you can find a student learning up to like 12 courses. Okay, finding yourself doing space repetition with so much workload is going to be very exhaustive, it's going to be very draining, and it's going to be, you will not be able to hit your target. So what is my take on space repetition? You see, as a with a proper study method or a proper study system, you only encounter your handout not more than twice, or your study material not more than twice. The first time you encounter your study material is to pinpoint knowledge and remove knowledge out of information that I've told you. That's the first time. Second time you encounter your handout is to write that knowledge out. Once you write the knowledge out, you find out that 50 pages of material can go back to what? 7 to 9 at most. Why? Because there are so many words of explanation. I see students even cramming information, like trying to memorize information. Is disheartening. You are wasting time, you are wasting energy, you are wasting your capacity, because no lecturer will ask you to explain what he explained. They only ask you to explain the key concept or the main branch or the sub branches. So you need to be very 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 smart about it. You need to be very very precise and know what you want, and get out and suck out that very important information that you want. You can be able to use it to achieve your goal. So please ensure that this space repetition, you do it wisely. You don't just consistently encountering one thing over and over. With a system, you don't need to do that. You encounter your material twice and you find out that you are very very good at it. Okay, so space repetition, you need to do it properly. So it's something that requires you to do it properly. So I will give it a half. So, but this is my take on this study techniques. I will still pick some other study techniques, advise you on how to use them appropriately, so that you can be able to achieve your goal. And do well to like, subscribe, and share this video so that others are going to benefit and learn from this, because there are a lot of misconception about these study techniques, which I'm trying to help my viewers and my community. Thank you very much. I remain your humble visual tutor, Sir Paul. Bye bye for now.